Hello guys, it's Leffen. Just arrived in LA a couple hours ago, and I really just wanted to get my side of the story, out of the open. It's really been stressing me out. I'm just really annoyed and triggered and all those things by everyone that got things wrong, and I really don't want to have to keep talking about this for months and months on end, and just kind of wanted to put my version of the story out so we can have a more complete picture. So hopefully I'll get a little bit less hate. That's my selfish reason. People will know more what we could have fixed, what went wrong, and so on. It'll all be good. Hopefully I'll be less stressed out and have less anxiety afterwards. Okay, so starting off, UCF was allowed in this tournament. Some people say that it wasn't stated clearly that it was allowed. I think it was mostly said on a Reddit post and a Facebook post, and it said also, this is something that's kind of noteworthy, that you couldn't mess with the setups. The memory cards weren't in the setup. We could not enable it as players. It was only the TOs that could enable it, and all the setups should have had it on from the the morning until the end of the day. So my experience with the mod, I tried some of the different shield drop mods before. Most notably, I tried the UCF mod on Thursday, the day before the tournament, and then played on it throughout the weekend. I knew it would have been enabled, and what I did was, after SmashCon, I had a lot of troubles with my controller, had to make a few new ones. Typo took the one that I was going to use, that I'm planning to use now. So I decided to use another controller meanwhile, and what I did was, I took a controller that didn't have good shield drops. It had a really shitty tape mod, and you can see this on Twitter, and I had a lot of problems with shield dropping at air and stuff like that. But I thought it would be fine, once I get to UCF, it'll be fine. One thing that I didn't really plan for is it was still hard to shield drop, or rather different to shield drop than it is on normal melee, because it only extends the window downwards. This is getting really too much into the details, but yeah. Either way, I chose a controller that could not shield up on the left side without UCF, at least not reliably. Sometimes that worked. So on Friday, all throughout Friday, for some reason in the VIP room where I played mostly against the top players, the setups didn't actually have UCF on, and that was really annoying. It does actually matter, and you definitely have to account for it. So me, Duck, and Bro, mostly Bro, but we all made an effort to get all those setups in the VIP room into UCF, and spent an hour or so on doing that. It was really stupid, but yeah, just to be clear, people can vouch for me. I did care about playing on the mod because it is different, and it does matter, especially when you're like me, who has a controller that is very different on UCF compared to normal, because I can't shield drop reliably. So going throughout the match, right, we can start with that. First game, I was really nervous. I was not feeling too great overall in the tournament. Pre-jumps aside, I won really big the first game, but I didn't really feel like I was playing great. And throughout the first 3 games, which was in Dreamland, where it wasn't really close, I didn't really even try to shield drop or do anything super technical. And then on the 2 games of FD, I started to feel something was wrong, but not nothing too wrong, right? And every single setup had been on UCF, so it could have been something else, right? Then after the Battlefield match, I think there was one time on the right side of Battlefield, if I remember, the right side platform of Battlefield, I remember correctly, that I couldn't shield. I was like, what the fuck? I never, I very rarely missed these, but I decided to do a button check, and I could do it, but in the button check, but I don't know why it was, or if I just use a different method. But when it came down to game 5, I definitely missed a lot of shield drops. You can watch the VODs. I think it ended with me missing a shield drop, then getting double full jump upward or something, and then dying. And the people that say it wouldn't have mattered, it's great. it's not really relevant in my opinion whether or not you can go through and say like, well, I don't think the difference would have been enough or something like that, because simply it's really hard to know. Like one hit that you get from a shield drop, or just even losing confidence in my movement because you can't shield drop or can't dash back, can be a really big deal, especially versus characters like Ice Climbers that punish you for messing up and so on. I'm trying to John here because what I'll eventually get to is that even if I had won the last game, I still think that the match should have been replayed, and I think it still would have. Okay, so a lot of people doubt me here. I saw some people say that like, because Leffen, you know, reset it after game 4, like checked his controller, he knew after game 4, but he would only have revealed it if it was he that lost the last game. It's just like, what? What? You really think I had like some devious plan that I thought up? Okay, so first off, I wasn't even the one that noticed it. After I lost, you can see my tweets. I just went and said like, GG's Chu, good luck further. I was really sad. I walked out of the venue. I was like on my way back to my hotel, really upset with how I played. Like I felt like something was off. Like I didn't understand what was wrong. You know, a big part of that, admittedly, I think was in my head, but I really did feel like something was off. I'm not sure if, you know, at the time I didn't know, is this in my head? What's going on? Either way, after that I see a few tweets from Typo and a few others that says UCF wasn't on. And I think back to it and I didn't, you know, it all made sense for me. Like, you have to realize that even if someone now goes through and looks through, oh, he didn't miss that many backdashes, oh, he only failed 2 or 3 shield drops. Like, no one actually looked through the VODs when they made the decisions. You don't really have time to look through the VODs and look, oh, did the UCF actually affect in this or that situation? Did the 0.9 change this kill move or that kill move? Like, the ruling, in my opinion, and what I thought was, it's just like, if the rule is wrong, then TO decides to replay it. Unless there's some huge, like, super insignificant thing, like maybe the timer had 1 minute more or something like that, that didn't reasonably affect things. But I think the UCF, especially when it was like a selling point of the tournament, and did affect things. You know, some people will argue that like, oh, this is normal melee, you've been playing a melee for 15 years, blah 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 blah. It's not the same. I hate to just whine and say stuff like that. And I know, like, I think ChuDat didn't even know what UCF was, but if UCF didn't matter, then there wouldn't be a movement to enable it and to allow it in the first place. Shine wouldn't, you know, go through all this trouble just to do a mod that didn't matter. Either way, I see it, I was like, all right, in my opinion, it should have been replayed, question mark, on Twitter. So I walked back and I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I don't really feel like playing it, but I also feel like if it's according to the rules that it should be replayed, then I'm going to replay it, you know? Especially if ChuDat is okay with it. I get to the registration desk and the head TO is there, and he doesn't seem to know yet, but some like other volunteer comes and tells him about it, and I just explained to him like, yeah, I didn't really notice it. It fucked up my shield drops. I didn't notice it until like later, because the first couple of games weren't on stages where I normally shield drop a lot. And eventually what happened was that after like maybe 20 seconds of me just explaining why I think it couldn't have mattered, dash back and shield drop, he just said, okay, we're gonna discuss this. Him and me walked from the entrance of the venue to the back. He basically just said, all right, we're gonna discuss this, I'll let you know what happens. And I said, okay. I did not push this at all. I was really like sad after I lost. I did not try to push this. Like, a lot of people, I know people will accuse me of lying. You can ask She, but some people say like, Leffen just whined, he just pushed it, and he forced ChuDat to play. He was the one, he just kept whining, he used his influence or something. Like, no, that was not what happened. I changed maybe like 3 sentences with She, then I went and I sat down and I see ChuDat still doing an interview. Like, he didn't realize that he had what had happened. And then I see ChuDat get told, then I get told like maybe 10 minutes after, okay, we decided to replay it, so it's gonna be replayed. It's like, okay, this really fucking sucks. And then a bit later I get to know that It was gonna be replayed after the winners matches, and my camera just died. Okay, let's just do the rest of it on the Twitch stream. First off, the more I thought about it, like neither if ChuDat said it was okay or if I thought it was okay, like the player's opinion shouldn't really matter in this situation. I don't really think that if he wanted to play it or not had a big impact. But initially, my emotional reaction was like, well, if he's okay with it, then I'm okay with it. But the more I thought about it, I don't think it should ever be down to the player. Should the player be responsible? Like, who should be responsible? Some people will say, why didn't you DQ yourself? Didn't you say that Hungrybox should DQ himself? And I think the situations are very different. In my opinion, Hungrybox cheated on something that he was responsible of knowing. Not only should he have known that he couldn't be coached, but Crunch should also have known that you can't mid-set coach. He cheated, and it was his own fault. And that's why he should have been DQ'd or DQ'd himself. I don't think this was my fault. Shantios told basically no one. I mean, like, given how ChuDat didn't even know what UCF was, or that it was allowed, how to recognize what UCF was. Even though I consciously knew, UCF has a S17 or whatever, I didn't think to check on it mid-tournament set. And regardless, since it should have been replayed regardless of who won, even if ChuDat maybe suffered less from it, it was also ChuDat's responsibility to check if you think it was my responsibility to check. Some people will say, it shouldn't have been replayed, it's unprofessional that it was replayed, maybe I should have DQ'd myself because it was unfair that it was replayed and stuff like that. For me, I really didn't think of it, if it was moral or not. All I thought about was essentially what does the rule say and what is the precedent. And what I thought about was the 0.9 thing where they replay the game. I was like, okay, are we going to replay the game? And later, looking up the rule is a misinterpretation / misconfiguration rule. It's just a long freaking rule about if the game was replayed, you may petition that the game should be replayed. It says game though, and it has this thing where it says this must be after the next game is started. The previous game should not be replayed regardless of whether the rules were set correctly. But it also says the final decision is at the discretion of the TO. Okay. So with this rule in and with the 0.9 precedent, I think it's pretty clear to see why I thought the game should be replayed. I simply thought it was the rules. If it's in the rules that if a misconfiguration happens, then it should be replayed, at least a game, then I don't think I'm in the wrong or unsportsmanlike for following the rules. Some people will say that. Some people thought I was unsportsmanlike for taking a stock when Scar paused twice, But in my opinion, it was never about I didn't even think about am I being immoral by following the rules or something like that. If people had a problem with the rule, I think they should have taken it up before it mattered. And right? Here's the thing that a lot of people say, and I think even the robotic fish, I think said, yeah, he says here, fifth, if the roles were reversed, it is highly unlikely that Chu would have requested to play the set over. I think this is kind of fucking bullshit. First off, it's completely hypothetical, and nobody knows what would have happened. Okay. Secondly, I wasn't the one that brought this thing up to the TOs, and you're right. In some ways, people are right. I would have dealt with it worse than Chu. Chu dealt with it really well. He still played amazing in considering what happened, and I would have been way more angry. But people that think that I set this up or that I was happy that this happened or that if the rules have been reversed, I would have refused to play or you're just assuming. I don't know why you hate me that much and assume this I would do that. Maybe it's because you don't like my Morph versus Fox video, whatever. I don't fucking know. But like, people have been around, right? Beast 4. Okay, it was one of the first ones after I got back from being banned. I was playing Ice, Winter Semis, no, Winter's Quarters maybe even. It was on Pokemon Stadium. It was one stock I think, and it was I was up like 60-70% at 0, and Ice was at 70. Had clear momentum going, and I think someone like accidentally shut the TV off. And what happens is that despite the fact that I was clearly in the lead, we have to replay that entire game. And obviously this made me really mad. Like, this is fucking bullshit. Why don't I at least get like percentage advantage or something like that? Like, even then, 70% at 4 stocks is not nearly as big of a difference as 70% at 1 stock. But what happens is that I lose that game in the run back. I SD hit like 0 from trying to ledge dash, and I end up losing the set 3-2. Eventually, I ended up winning that tournament through losers. But regardless, like, this situation has happened, and I did replay the match. So I don't know why you guys are just assuming that I would not do this. I've always followed the rules when it comes to these things. Even if I would have won, even if it's fucking terrible about the TOs, which it is still, and it's even worse that they didn't even tell people how to identify it. Because if more people knew, then anyone could have screamed like, UCF isn't on, before it started. Okay, so some people will say, it's not fair to rerun the set. They should have just replayed the game. I think, regardless of what you think, right? I'm not saying that I know or I think. I can't be unbiased either. Like, should the match be replayed? Should the set be replayed? Should it not be replayed? I can't really be unbiased in this. I only decided to replay it because it said so in the rules, and I think that that's pretty obvious. Like, maybe you should have disagreed with the rule before they used it, but if the rule's in, I'm gonna follow it. But right, the game versus set thing, right? When I actually came backstage and they realized that I was wrong, they had to check the replays to make sure that UCF wasn't on, which took some time. By then, ChuDat was like, he was doing like a winner's interview. I think he did 2. And then, right, so he got told. And by the time that we both knew that they decided we were going to replay, the next set had already started. And, we could have done it off stream, but I think, if anything, if you're going to say that like they should have just replayed the game, I think people don't realize how massive of an advantage I would have had if they just decided to replay the game. And I don't think that's fair. I think that ChuDat, as it is, already gets fucking boned. Obviously, he gets the worst end of the stick. I think it's hard for both of us, but he obviously gets the worst end of the stick. And I think if we go into game 5 and it's my counter pick, remember that I ended up winning on Yoshi's, and I counterpicked it in the next set. So even if he won on that stage this time, Yoshi's is still Fox's favorite stage in our matchup at least. So it would have been one more game, and I would have had the advantage, and essentially just a coin flip. And it would have pretty much completely been decided by who was more composed, and it would have been way easier for me to be composed since I had nothing really to lose or whatever. Either way, people will say like, oh, you can't rewrite the set, adaptation and stuff like that. I agree with some of those things. You can't really recreate a first set. Completely true. There are some advantages, some disadvantages. Some people can say that like, oh, it favored Leffen because I got to counterpick differently and stuff like that. But it also favored ChuDat because he didn't strike the Dreamland where he got destroyed. And then got Battlefield where he destroyed me. This set before. Either way, this doesn't really matter for this situation. I think this is something that we need to discuss going into the future. Should we replay sets, and how should they be done? I don't really think this one was even debatable because the only precedent we had was the 0.9 and what was in the rule set. That said, the rule set itself is kind of a problem because UCF wasn't in the linked rule set. That was like posted separately on a Reddit post, and that's a big problem that like they don't have one cohesive rule set. Either way, I'm really sorry for ChuDat. Like, I'm really sad that this just happened. I'm very upset about it too. I had a really hard time just like getting it off my mind. I still can't. Yeah, it just really sucks. Obviously, it sucks for ChuDat more, but I can just tell you from my perspective that it fucking sucks too. I'm gonna try to make things right as much as I can. I'm gonna work. I'm working with ChuDat. We're gonna set something up hopefully. I'll let you guys know more about that. And yeah, obviously, I already apologized to ChuDat and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will hate me. I've just accepted that at this point. People don't really give a shit about the facts. They just want something that suits their narrative. And like, Leffen is a dick. He's unsportsmanlike. Personally, I don't really think that. I don't think someone is ever unsportsmanlike for following the rules or the TL. Never ever. You can be sportsmanlike. Say if someone pauses, you can make okay. It didn't matter. We'll play it out. That's sportsmanship. When people start guilt tripping people for not being overly nice, that's where I have a problem because oh, you didn't let the pulse go. That could have changed something. You're a bad sportsman. It's just fucking ridiculous. And honestly, I just really don't agree with that way of thinking. Oh, the music thing was not worse. I mean, like, okay, I didn't do anything wrong. Maybe I could have been more nice and given him the second set, forfeited. But I did not do anything wrong. I will always hold this. I didn't do anything wrong. The only thing people that did arguably something wrong was the Shantios. You can blame them, but fuck you if you blame me. I don't give a shit if you're a Chu fanboy or whatever. You fuckers. I don't give a shit. I'll be the villain if being innocent and not, like just begging for sucking up and begging for forgiveness when I'm not wrong is being the villain. But fuck, dude. I'm just so fucking done with being like attacked and just always being fucking stressed out about what people say about me and so fucking done with this shit.